All right. A couple of weeks ago, we learned how to make simple scatterplot visualization. The simple scatterplot visualization is something that we saw used very effectively by, remember this video? This one?
Europe round. Here we go.
So it was very effective, right? And if you recall, the way he told the story was by going, like, updating the scatter plot year by year. Okay, so it's one strategy, and I want to show you how you can utilize D3 to do something like this. Okay, it doesn't look as good and as the way they present it, but at the end of the day, you can click and show me, and then it'll update for each year. Okay, you can also just go use a slider to move around. Okay, hope this is exciting for you, because I think it gives you a lot of potential for creating interesting things. And that's why we use D3 sometimes, right? But you can do this with Vega Lite too, but the more interesting and fun you want to get with a visualization on the web, you want to use something like D3, right? For people who use React, the design patterns are almost equal, like similar, but then you will do it differently a little bit in React. So we're going to try to do that. So I want you to try to focus on just understanding how things work and try to code along, and when we'll get somewhere together. But the codes exist. So let me share a starter code with you. I'm sending a zip file in the lecture slides page that has like a HTML and a starter code, because there's more code than we have time to do in the class. Okay, so get it just there, and I will send you the data set as well. So I'm sending you the data set, and I've given you a starter code. Okay. All right. So I'm also sending you the starter code. Please download these two and just put them in a new project for yourself.
The starter contains only the HTML structure.
There is a little bit of there's a little bit of code. There's a little bit of code. There is what we have here. A little bit of code. And I'll explain it. We'll read through it. I'm not gonna just do live coding, because again, there's a lot, and we've done this before in the previous sample. But before, I'm gonna wait for you to download, but I just want to show you, okay, how you can animate something, like the sort of flow of animation within D3 before we get to that code. I'm just gonna do it with one circle. While I'm live coding, I'm not monitoring chat, right? So I'm gonna try, but maybe also please take.
I'm gonna take care.
You can then give it attributes, right? I'm just gonna give it a position of, I don't know, 200 pixels for X, and for Y, I'm just gonna give it 300. And then the radius should be 20. And then the fill should be, I don't know, 15. So we should be able to see a circle. And we've done this before. I've just created a circle and put it inside of an SVG. So code these two sections with me, put it inside of a drawviz function. And you should see this circle. I'm gonna wait like 1 or 2 minutes, because this is a very repeatable pattern. So it's really important that you understand under the hood how things work. If we do it with one circle, we can do it with many. You know what? I'm not even gonna put this inside of a variable, just so you can see that we can just do this in other places as well. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a new function, call it animate circles, and it should be a function. And then here, I'm just gonna go tell D3. I know there is one circle, so I'm just gonna say D3 select. You can do this, and it will select it for you, or you can have a global variable here called SVG, and then put stuff into the SVG. And then here, then you can just go SVG select circle. And I'm just gonna test if my code is working. Just gonna go circle dot fill seal. Okay, so if this function is working, we should see a seal circle, right? So see this, we created a black circle, and we have this function that when called goes selects this circle and then changes the color. You see where we're going? The pattern is like this. You say, hey, SVG, we've already created you. Select circle. Select only selects the first circle, and we know there's one, but you could select all and then just do the same thing. It doesn't matter. It'll do this for all circles if you do select all. So how do you think we're gonna animate? I'm just gonna do JavaScript has a useful function called set interval, where it takes a function as an input, and then it takes a duration in milliseconds. And I'm just gonna go, I don't know, 500 milliseconds. Okay? And then you can just, I'm just gonna calculate a random position, and the width is 800. Let me actually take let width height, and then have width and height as global variables as well, so I can access them. Okay, so I'm just gonna go create a random number for the x. Just gonna go math random let random x equals math dot, and then times width. It'll create a number between 0 and width. This gives a number between 0 and 1. Multiplying that by 800 makes it a number between 0 and 800. Okay? So now we'll just do this. Okay? So see, every 500 milliseconds, this is just jumping around. If we make this 1,000, okay, it'll do that. Now this is one thing that D3 does, and it's really nice. You can just go transition, and it just calculates the movement for you. Okay? And then you can just set a duration variable, let's say 500. And then you can also have a duration. And then you can just use the same duration here, I believe. Let's just give it like, I don't know, 5 extra milliseconds or any weird things. Did I break it? With duration? Sure I did. It's not working anymore, huh? Yeah. Duration is not defined. It's just a typo. Oh,
Is it not because of...
yes, no, duration should be defined here. There you go. The reason was this variable, I'm pointing at the screen like you guys are seeing. Duration is outside of the scope of this function.
Yeah.
There we go. So we can also call duration here, duration. This works, and then you can just increase it to 1500 and it just becomes slower. Okay? You can just do random y equals map.random times height, and then just get the y position as well. You can make it really fast. No problem at all. You can make it normal speed. And it works for color as well. You can just give it like a random color in RGB. It works. So I'll let you practice with that. Okay? The idea behind what we are doing is pretty similar, but we're going to see how we can do it with an actual data set. Okay, so now let's get out of this. Any questions about this part so far? Is everyone able to see the animation? This is all that you need to do. I'm going to give you a little bit of time. Get into the habit of looking at, see, I had an error myself. Just look at your console and see what the error is, and we're here so we can help you. This is a lab. This is not just a lecture. So we're here to help you get code done. So what is the error that you're seeing? Where is the typo? I can copy and paste, but when you're doing the coding on your own, you might face this, and just right click, go to inspect, and then go to console and see if you're seeing anything. Debug your own code. The base code is, yes, the base code, yes, I'll show you the draw viz part. Here. After this, we're gonna move to the actual scatter plot. But the draw viz here is very simple. Here we have created an SVG. And here we just put one circle within that SVG. It's giving me headaches, this circle that's moving around. You all go crazy.
Don't look at it then.
Yeah. All right, it's working for everyone. It's good. So this is an actual SVG circle that's being moved around. So it's pretty neat. You could do a lot of stuff. So now let's get to our starter code. I showed you that you can create global variables that you can access later. In this example, we had our width and height, and we had the SVG. So this is a pretty useful, important programming concept, and you should use it safely. Safely meaning don't always do what I'm doing. Be careful about what you make global. But if you have only one SVG and you want to access it from everywhere, you might have one global variable called SVG that you access. Or it could be your data set or other things. And width and height are the same thing. Okay. So in here we have a bunch of global variables that I have created for you. But let's look at the visualization and then look at the data, because I've given you the data as well. So what are we trying to solve with code? In the Scatterplot example that we had, in the previous session, we had only one row per entity. We had, I don't know, we had games, and each game had something. Like you had a publisher and each game was unique. But now what we want to do is to visualize each country's life expectancy versus gross domestic product, GDP, for every year. Okay? And our data set has all these different years for all these different countries. So here's the first thing that we need to solve. Right? So that when we select these different years, we can do that pattern that I just showed you. We can say, okay, you have the circles, just go and update the circles. Make them now use the data that is associated with 1972. That's what we are going to do. Okay? So before we go there, what was the... Oh, man, I forget. It was Alt and Z? Yes. Okay. So the prepare viz part that I've given you loads a data set. And then it calculates the overall GDP extent and life expectancy extent. This is the overall. There is a very simple reason for this, because you don't want the axes to change. You want to show that things move from bottom left to the top right, okay? So you want the maximum of GDP and the maximum of life expectancy. Otherwise, everything would be always like from left to right. You can try it and you'll see the example. Okay? Then we have the width and the height. We have the margin. Here we're doing exactly the same thing. We're going, hey, D3, select the div with the ID of viz container, add an SVG in there, make the width and height, and then give it a border. Okay? So far, so good. Here, we're doing something that is different from what we did last time, right? Remember, we created these scales where you would be able to go through and that it would create a function that you would give it a number in the data scale and it would give you a number in pixels for positions, or it would give you a number, again, in pixels for radius. Here, we're defining the output of that function. So we're saying the range should be from margin.left to width minus margin.right, etc. The domain, which is the data input, will be decided based on the data that you're filtering. Okay? Then we're doing all the other normal stuff. We have a scale for color that's going to be used to create different continents. We create the x-axis. You've already seen that because that doesn't change. And then we create the labels for each of these axes, and we create the legend. The legend here is just for this. This is like 4 rectangles with different colors and 4 text. These are not really important. You can repeat that later. Okay? But with that, we have this empty canvas that we can start to create our visualization. Okay? So far, we just have a prepare viz function. Does everyone see this empty SVG? Do you have it open? Do you see it? Okay. Good. So now that we have this, we're going to create a new function. Now we will have a drawViz function. And remember, the drawViz should take the year as an input because we only want to deal with one specific year. Okay? And we want to draw that. So I'm just going to put year as the input of that function. Okay? And then what can we do? We can go year data set. We can create a variable called year data set. We can say equal data set. Remember, we have already loaded this data set. Look, this data set is here. And then we've made it a global variable. So here it's being loaded and then it's been put here. Okay, so we can do dataset.filter. Remember how filter works? Filter just goes, give me something to work with, right? You can just go d.year equals year. So this is telling JavaScript to take an array and filter out and give you only the items where something in them, when the function returns true. Essentially, that's all you're doing. For us, this function returns true when the year of that row equals the year provided to this function here. Okay? I'm gonna give it a little bit of time for you all to type. And you should remember that should start learning how JavaScript asynchronous functions work. But the reason we do async is because loading data is done asynchronously. So I'm just gonna tell JavaScript to wait for prepare viz, and then we're gonna run the app. This pattern is useful for you, and then, so this is gonna wait for prepare viz to finish, and then you're just gonna go draw viz. What's the first year? 1952. For now, I'm just gonna input 1952 here. Why? Because I just wanna see if I can print out the filtered data set and see if my code is working. So yes, we have all the countries where the year is 1952. Okay, so we've solved this first problem here. Now we can just do normal D3 here. Okay, now that we have a data set that fits what we want to do, everything else is fairly simple. We've done this before, but we're gonna repeat it. Okay, I'm gonna take it slow so that you guys can catch up. All right, so now we wanna, what variable? Yeah. So now we're gonna create a few extents like we always do, right? So we have our year data set. So for population, we're gonna get year data set, and then the function would be to get us the D population. This gets us the minimum and maximum population. Let's see if we have gotten that. Get into the habit of just trying to print stuff and see if it's working. So yeah, our populations are good. We have the extent of our population. I think, so how are we doing populations? I think it's going to be based on, like, we're gonna set the radii. Is that correct, radii? The plural of
Yes,
radius?
I think it is.
I don't know why, because campus, it doesn't become campi, but radius becomes radii. So it's always messes me up. English is
Yeah, it's radii. Yeah.
radii. Okay. I don't know. English is my second language, so sometimes I just have issues. Anyway, so we're trying to map the population to the size of the circles, okay? To the radius or radii of the circles. The x-axis is going to map the GDP. The y-axis is gonna map life expectancy. Color is gonna map a categorical variable continent, which is shown here. Okay, so that's why we're taking the population extent. Okay, so we have something here called year label. Okay, we created this variable here called year label and put it in the center and just didn't put anything here. So now, because we have an input to our function, we can just go year label dot text year. Okay, this just helps us see what year we have selected. Okay, now we know it's 1952. If we make it 2000, this should be 2000. The filter data, maybe it doesn't have 2000, so let's just use a number 2002. It's not every year, it's every 5 years or something. So I'm just going to use for now. We're going to fix this issue later, but yes, so 2000, we have it. Then this is our filter data. Okay, so here we have also given it the label. What else can we do? We also need the continents, so we can go const continents equals. I'm doing bad coding here. You can look it up to get like a more efficient way of doing this, but I don't care. This is a small enough data set. Our computers are strong. But look up the better way of doing this for people on YouTube or future. I just don't care. Sorry, computer scientist. This takes all the rows in the year data set, gets the continent, and then puts them into a new array and then translates that into a set. This is like an inefficient way of getting the unique continents out there. You can use libraries to do this for you, and they do it efficiently. So I'm just going to look at continents to make sure I've got it. Asia, Europe, Africa, America, and Oceania. Boom. So now we have our continents. Okay. Let's take a break for 5 minutes. I need to go get some water. You can answer questions if they have.
They don't have anything. Can I see the page of simple animation.js? Oh yeah, sure. So here we have a function drawBus, which actually draws what we want. We have declared the SVG drawer with the 3, and we have an animate circle here. So technically this animate circle receives specifications for the circle's behavior. This assigns the X and Y, the coordinations, and this part takes care of the transition. And yeah, this animate circles animates the circle we have drawn with this. Cool.
Question?
They wanted to see the simple animation.js page. Yeah.
Okay. Where were we? Okay. So if you remember, we have already created this GDP extents. Okay? And I want to show you the two approaches. But when you're updating this visualization, you can set the scale every time you change it, okay? For anything. You can set the domain. So just wanted to start from 0 and then go to the maximum of GDP extent. And then Y scale would be, you can start from 0, or maybe it doesn't make sense for life expectancy to start from 0, right? Why would it start from 0? Because life expectancy has never been 0, okay? For GDP, for some countries, the GDP was close to 0. So it makes sense to do that. Remember, we've already talked about this, okay? So you have to make a decision. So for life expectancy, we just use the minimum and maximum of these different. Okay? And then I'm just going to also start adding other scales. Radius, scale, D3, scale, linear, range should be from 5 to 12. This can be anything you want. Make it 25 so that it's a bit different. You could have created this over there as well. And then we want to map the population. We're going to create a scale for the color as well. I believe we have created a color scale. So this is bad coding from my end. So I can just go let color scale here. And then make it global. And then just type color scale dot domain continents. So we're telling, did I make it ordinal over there as well? Yeah. So it's an ordinal scale, and I'm just telling it that the domain should be the continents. Okay. I believe we're ready to make our circles. So let's give it a shot. So we already have our SVG. We're going to select all the circles. We're going to assign the data, year data set. So this is, we have done this many times. We're going to join the circles. This pattern is very repeatable. So just, it's called select everything, map, bind it to data, and then just do that thing that I showed you. If there's more circles, add to it. If there's less circles, remove it. Okay? Then attributes. CX. So CX should be based on, we have an X scale for it. So D, we want our to be the GDB. Okay? And then we want the Y to be return Y scale, the life expectancy. And then we want to give it a radius for now, just to see if we can see our circles. And we want to give it a feel of black as well. So let's see if we can see our circles. No, not yet. Because, can you guess why? I can't guess why. Because I don't know. We're not seeing circles yet. But we will figure it out. Let's see. It's making circles, but it's not showing them. So let's see. GDP. The radius should be 15.
Is there a problem with the draw function?
Oh, there's circles. Boom. Okay. So we can see our circles. And this is for year 2002. No, I don't think they were off the canvas. Good. That was my guess first as well, but it was just a typo.
Oh.
Okay. So take a few minutes to look at this. This again is a very repeatable pattern. Yes, Riley, I think I got your question. It was just, that was my guess as well, but I think we're good. Okay. So again, this is pretty simple. We're going to add the radii. That again, very similar to how we do things in D3. We're going to just tell D3 that the radii should be based on using the radius scale and then the population. Okay, now we have the sizes set based on the population of each country. And then we're going to do the fill based on continent. Okay? And I believe just to make it a little bit more pretty, we can also just go, I think opacity or something, or if it didn't work, then yeah, you can just give it a little bit of opacity so all the circles don't overlay each other. So let's just do it at 7. This is just to have a little bit of a flare. Okay, so our circles are done. We only need to do two things. We're gonna need to do, remember, we've already created in our code an x-axis and a y-axis. Here, we have them. They're ready for us to set them. So we can just go x-axis dot transition dot duration. I've shown you why this works, right? And then you're just gonna go D3 axis bottom x scale. And then you do the same thing for y-axis. I'm just gonna copy and paste because we don't need to repeat this every time. Okay, so x-axis, transition, duration, and then the duration should be something that we give either the function or maybe it's a global variable. So I have it as a global variable. So you can, I just created a duration variable here, but you could have it as an input to the function as well. All right, so now we have the basics. We have the basics to both make an animation but also make the interactive slider. Both use the same logic. Whenever you move the slider, you can call the same draw viz function. And when you click the animation, you can just use that pattern that I showed you to update the data set. Right? So let's try it. So we have our draw viz and we have our draw viz and we have our prepare viz. Okay. The third thing that we want to do is to create an animation function. Okay. So function play animation. We've already done this, so this is very simple. I'm just going to go quickly. Okay. We want to start from 0. Okay. We want to start from index of 0. And then we're just going to say, okay, years is, man, this messes me up. Map D. So we're getting all the unique years. Again, this is bad coding, so figure out a better way later. Then we're going to sort it. This gets us all the unique year in the correct order. Okay? And then we're going to say interval equals, remember this set interval that we did? So it runs a function, right? We say year equals years index. Or let's just call it I to make it simpler. And then we're just going to draw this year. So we have this array that has all the years. And then we're going to select from that array based on index. And then we're going to call the draw viz function. And then we're just going to add to index. Again, this is simple. For loops, you do it in a bunch of different ways you do it. And then we're just going to say if I is larger or equal to years.length. This is for just JavaScript to know that it can stop running the animation. And then you just give it that duration, which is 500. And we have our play animation function. Okay? So now in our index.html, just create a button and just say ID animation play animation. Okay, now you have this play animation button that you're going to use to run your animation. Okay, now simply Actually, let's make this years also a global variable. Yeah. Let's bring it to the run app function here because we can use it there. I broke something. Boom. Cannot read. Where? Line
38.
164.
Maybe it's because you changed the errors and you have a dot at the end of it.
No,
Which is
because
sort.
it's because this should come afterwards. Because prepare this isn't done yet. Yeah. So now we've got our years, and then we can just make the first
It's supposed to be years, not year.
years 0. Thank you, Mehdi, for it's fine. That they can fix later. You can give it some more margins or something. Okay, so we've created our initial draw viz, and this uses the same years, and then we can just go document dot query selector, and then we have this play animation. I think it was called animation, and this is how you create an event in JavaScript. So you can say whenever someone clicks, call the animation function. Okay, I'm going to repeat. You tell JavaScript, hey JavaScript, get the animation button. Add something that listens to, listening means just do something whenever I do something. And that's saying, okay, add this event listener when someone clicks on this animation button, do the play animation function. We have our play animation function. If that function is correct, we should be able to see our animation. Fingers crossed. It didn't work. Oh, it worked. Boom.
Oh, it works.
Yeah.
Like the only thing that needs to be done is to shift the 0 on the x-axis to the right, a bit to the right.
Yeah,
so
you have to make the x-axis. Yeah, there is some D3 ways of doing it accurately. I don't know, my brain.
I don't know. Okay.
Which one are you're saying this when the circles are like
Yeah,
this?
when the circles are on the 0 axis,
Yeah.
they cover.
Well, you can give
Y
some
axis.
padding in D3. Just
Yeah,
look up the. So the only thing we can add to make this run smoother here, you can just go boom, transition, and this will make the movement smooth. And I believe if we just go dot duration, it should just go smoothly, a little bit smoother. Okay. All right, we're done. Technically, we have the example code. I can show you how to do this, but you can figure it out. This is exactly the same as the other logic. Is you create a change event listener on the slider. You get, let me just show you. But I don't remember how to do that myself anyway. I need to look at my own example. Let's just try it, okay? So we're gonna do the slider that looks like this. All right, let me just see. Yeah, so we have done this. I'm just gonna copy and paste this code. I haven't been cheating up till now, but it's after 8 and my brain also is fried. So this is my cheat. I'll explain to you what's happening and then you can see. So inside of script.js, you can select the year slider. Okay, so we have this year slider thing that we created here. All right, I'm gonna just show you here, okay? And then when you select it, you can, so that it works properly, you can set some of its attributes with JavaScript. We're going to do that here. You need to know years, so we're gonna first call years and then say the value.
It should be years, not year.
No, there
The
is
last one.
no. Slider value should be. See, that is not.
Here you already have year.
I should have a variable called year.
Yeah.
So here's how this works. You should go let year equals. Am I changing in some wrong place? So you can just go let year equals years 0. Okay. And then you start with the value of that slider being set to year, and then and then you change it like this.
So you had to define year here, not there.
Yeah. Anyways, there is a error. Year is not defined, so we just go let year equals year 0. And then the slider, it runs. Yeah, I think this should work. Yeah, okay. It's always amazing to me how live coding is so difficult. But the idea is very similar. This pattern that you can create an input event listener and then change something and then call your drawWiz function again is a repeatable pattern. You can use it and you can create all sorts of stuff. I have other examples in the GitHub repository. I just want to show you that you can create bar charts that move around. We have examples. You can sort based on either the name or the amount. So you can sort all sorts of stuff. You can change variables. So we have examples here that you can see. And again, for the ones of you who want to make something fun and interactive, you can use D3. I'm going to teach you Vega Light interactions as well later. But now that we are on D3 mode, we might as well do that. Okay. Hope this wasn't too much. You'll have access to this code. You already do. But hope that you followed along and you understand. Again, my biggest hope for you all is to get the intuition and the expertise to understand how things work. So if you see an example or if you ask AI and it gives you a code, you can read it and you can change it. That's really important. You want to be masters of your code. You want to be able to change them. Hope that this was helpful. Any questions? Anything?
Let's see if they have questions, and I also have a reminder. So if there's so this code is on the Git repository. The final code, is it on
It's on the. Let me show you before we go. So we go to 355, and then view organization. Then I believe it's under T3. We have a lot of examples here. And this one that we just looked at is animation. And the sort of correct code is called in class.
Yeah, it's fine. The same thing. Yeah.
So the animation.js has drawWiz, it has play animation, it has pause animation, it has reset animation. It has a bunch of more stuff. We did the basic thing, but you have a more complete version with more things. But hopefully you understand how things are working here. And then we have other examples with the bar chart. We have a multiple view example. We can take a look at that later.
Okay, just quick reminder. I know you're all tired after 2 hours of class, but just keep that in mind that for your 5th assignment, and generally speaking for your final project, you will be working in the groups of 2, okay?
3 actually.
3?
Because there's 6, yeah.
Okay,
Change it to
it's 3 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you will be working in the groups of 3. So I have to also change the project description into 3. You can start finding group mates right now on the Discord chat. Meanwhile, we will open a section on Canvas where you can create your group and write down your names so that we know how to mark you after for each step of the project. Keep that in mind. Can we have a team forming channel on Discord? Yeah, I will.
We can create
it right away.
That's awesome. Yeah, good idea. Talk to each other on Discord. Also, I highly suggest that you form teams based on shared interest, because your projects would be things that you are all interested in. We'll create that. Anyways, stop